I was so ready to go on vacation until now. I'm your host Youssef, and these are 10 scary vacation stories that will make you cancel your trip. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's just wait and see. Number 10. ERIN Langworthy. Many people have the desire of visiting Victoria Falls in southern Africa, but for ERIN Langworthy it became a nightmare. When the cable broke during the Australians' bungee jump off of the Victoria Falls Bridge in Zambia in 2012, she fell 111 meters or 364 feet into the crocodile-infested Zambezi River below. She spent 40 minutes in the water after being dragged down a flood river with her feet still connected by a rope that measured 10 meters or 30 feet in length. Eventually she was able to cling onto some rocks, and a bungee firm employee hauled her onto the shore. Langworthy was transported to the Victoria Falls Clinic in Zimbabwe, but it took her 5.5 hours to get there. Langworthy didn't sustain any significant injuries despite having bruises all over her body and having partially compressed lungs, and she went back to her house 2 weeks later. She was the 106th person that day to jump off the bridge. Number 9. DUDZISZ. A 26-year-old German traveler who was attempting to trek nearly halfway across Australia alone went missing. He lived by consuming flies. After 2 years of being without a house, DUDZISZ started to travel great distances by himself. He had intended to go 3,860 kilometers or 2,400 miles on foot from New South Wales to Uluru, but got lost and spent 10 days trapped between two flooded riverbanks. Those who had come into contact with DUDZISZ were unfazed by the news of his disappearance. Opal miner Andrew Plax described him as a very hardy traveler who had traversed great miles on other continents while consuming water from troughs and puddles and could live off the smell of an oily rag. He was certain the hiker who had gone missing would be recovered alive. Fortunately, DUDZISZ, a diabetic, had enough insulin on hand. When his meager supply of cereal and baked beans ran out, he started eating flies for nutrition and was eventually saved by a passing driver. DUDZISZ swore to adhere to main highways and only walk during the daytime, but rejected medical attention and was determined to complete his walk. Number 8. Rochelle Harris. In 2013, British traveler Rochelle Harris started feeling a severe headache and shooting pains in her face when she was traveling home from a vacation in Peru. She also started to experience weird scratching noises and ear discharge. Harris, who is 27 years old, went to the doctor after arriving home. Doctors initially assumed Harris had an ear infection, but they soon found 8 sizable maggots crawling around within his ear canal. While trekking on vacation, she recalled passing through a swarm of flies and having one buzz in her ear. However, after waving a fly away, she forgot about it. The bug was a New World screwworm fly, which often lays its larvae in warm-blooded animals' wounds. The maggots hatched after 24 hours and carved a hole in Rochelle Harris's ear canal measuring 12 millimeters or half an inch. Harris wasn't permanently hurt by the experience, and unexpectedly, it actually made her less afraid of bugs. Number 7. Keith Brown. Keith Brown, a British youth worker, was stopped by customs officials when connecting in Dubai on his way from Ethiopia to London with his wife. He was arrested for narcotics possession after it was discovered that he had cannabis on him, and he received a 4-year prison term. On the bottom of his shoe was 0.003 grams or 0.0001 ounce of cannabis. This is about the size of a sugar grain, which is far too little to have any psychoactive effects. The 43-year-old father of 3 was fortunate to receive a pardon and be freed early from prison. A German individual was detained for possessing legally available over-the-counter jet lag medication in the UAE, and a Swiss traveler was reportedly imprisoned for having poppy seeds on his clothing after eating a bread roll at Heathrow Airport. The UAE is well known for being strict and unyielding when it comes to substance crime. Number 6. Brittany Drexel. Brittany Drexel informed her mother in 2009 that she would be spending her spring break within 32 kilometers or 20 miles of their Rochester, New York home. Instead, she and her boyfriend and pals traveled to the South Carolina beach resort town of Myrtle Beach. She visited a buddy who was staying at the Blue Water Hotel while she was there. At 9 p.m. she spent about 10 minutes there before leaving the hotel lobby and disappearing. Although she was seen entering and leaving the Blue Water, surveillance cameras did not record anything else. Her cell phone signal vanished the next day. Fears for Brittanee's safety increased when the signal was eventually traced to a marshy region. Police questioned the acquaintance she had seen at the Blue Water Hotel, who had returned home to Rochester that evening at 2 a.m. in a rather suspicious manner, and investigated a room belonging to a person of interest at another hotel. But they never discovered any conclusive proof of signs of Brittany Drexel. Later, Brittanee's mother relocated from Rochester to Myrtle Beach in order to be nearer to her and to continue being active in the inquiry. Number 5. Honeymoon turned sour. From Redditor FuffDcent, we went to the Dominican Republic for our honeymoon. One day we decided to take a day trip that the resort was offering. The trip included sightseeing by bus, lunch, a trip to a waterfall, and ended with a horseback ride. There were about 7 of us in the group. At the end of the day, we were on our way back to the stables and we ventured underneath a bridge. A dude appeared out of the dense bushes and trees, cussing at us and swinging a machete. One of the horses dumped its rider and the rest of us took off while the tour guide negotiated, gave money to the man. We all made it back to the bus safely, but wide-eyed. Number 4. Brakes failing. From Redditor Zontabak, I got into a minibus accident in the mountains in Bolivia. The air brakes failed as we were driving down the mountainside. All of a sudden, the driver's side passenger jumped out of the bus onto the road. Then all of us passengers started to jump from the moving bus, hitting the dirt and rolling. The bus ended up running into one of those runoffs built into the side of the mountain. Terrifying experience. From then on, I took trains and planes whenever possible. I don't know if I'd ever venture to Bolivia again. Number 3. Followed. From Redditor Buttercup, visited Brussels in 2019. My boyfriend went to college there, so he was having coffee with some friends and I wanted to explore. Cut to me down some alleyway looking for hidden shops and noticed 2 men about 30 feet or so behind me. Keep in mind, the street was empty. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I took 3 left turns and they were still behind me. At that point, I made my way back to one of the many squares in the old town, and once I was about to turn on a more main road, they were gone. Needless to say, I didn't wander Brussels alone after that. Also for reference, I'm female and was 24 at the time. Number 2. Frankfurt scares. From Redditor ALEIAZ, this happened when my family was visiting my cousins in Frankfurt. My sister and I went to Walgreens to pick up some pictures. When we were at the checkout, a man came into the store with a piece and started yelling. My sister started crying, and since the checkout station is right next to the exit, I told her that we should stay put until the man was gone. Luckily, no one got hurt and we made it out safely. Number 1. Lightning from the ground. From Redditor You Puny Humans, I went to Drumheller, the place where they find a lot of dinosaur fossils in Alberta. Camped overnight. It was a gorgeous and clear starry night. Until it wasn't. From the tent, I kept seeing flashes of light, which at first I thought was just someone shining a flashlight around. And then I could hear faint booms. So I looked outside and saw a giant black cloud with an enormous amount of lightning coming from it. I scrambled as quickly as I could to toss everything in the tent back in my car. And by the time I was done, it was raining and the storm was right on top of us. We sat in the car and watched. It lasted all night long and was the most intense lightning I've ever seen. At one point, I look over at my now ex-girlfriend and her hair stands right up on end. Mine too. And then a half second later, lightning hit right beside the car, maybe 5 feet away. It was incredibly loud, like an explosion, and you could hear the crackle of electricity escaping into the ground. Also, the lightning left a huge streak of ionized air that lasted several seconds. Thanks for watching. Those were 10 scary vacation stories that will make you cancel your trip. Leave a like and comment if you think we missed anything, and we hope you have a scary day.